Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, April 21st. And Payton, silly season continues for the Missouri Tigers. We have a ton of new stuff to dive into, and then we'll get to our mock draft, yearly annual mock draft with Jacob Infante on the other side. Kenny joined us with that. But Payton, we have a ton of news items to go over, starting with a couple of transfers on the football front. And we're going to lead, first and foremost, with the new addition to the tight end room. Mizzou added Gavin Hoffman, the transfer portal from Iowa. Payton, you know what? I usually do a little rundown, of just their basic, who is this guy, what about him? But I think I'm going to let you do that with Mr. Hoffman, because I knew you were familiar with his game, shall we say, back when he was a prep player and now joining Mizzou's tight end room. Who is Gavin Hoffman, Mizzou's new tight end?
Well, Gavin Hoffman, I mean, we've talked about so many different guys on this show. We probably don't remember specifics, but we've definitely talked about Gavin Hoffman because Mizzou was pretty hard after him out of high school. He went to Blue Valley Northwest. That, of course, is the KC metro area in Overland Park. He went to Iowa, very understandable. Mizzou hasn't used tight ends very much in its offense up until Brett Norfleet, and even then, Brett Norfleet at times, I know he's been injured, still hasn't probably been utilized, I think, as much as people would hope. But went to Iowa, which is just a tight end factory. Hard to deny them when they see potential in you as a tight end. But now he's back in the fold. He was the first spring edition for Mizzou in the portal. I was a bit surprised because Mizzou has really not used tight ends a whole ton under Drinkwitz for the most part. I'm sure they'd really like to use them more, and that's probably the idea with Gavin Hoffman. It's kind of a perfect world. Gavin Hoffman, of course, he's cousins with Sophie Cunningham. It's a very, very heavy Mizzou runs in the family, basically, for Gavin Hoffman. So good homecoming for him. I'm sure he got some assurances about being involved in the offense in some way. Didn't really see the field much at Iowa, which, again, understandable given the
redshirted.
Given the legacy of tight ends at Iowa, but it's an interesting pickup for Mizzou. It wasn't one tight end was not something I expected them to go after in the spring portal, especially after adding Vince Brown in the winter portal as well at tight end. So, but it's intriguing. I think he has way more upside than someone like Vince Brown. Probably way more of a receiver ceiling than someone like Jordan Harris, who is basically just an offensive tackle that lines up at tight end at times. You'd like to maybe imagine a world where Hoffman and Norfleet can be kind of that 1-2 punch at tight end. It would have to take something we really haven't seen out of Mizzou's offense under Drinkwitz, but I am intrigued by this pickup for sure.
Yeah, and obviously just a redshirt freshman next year too, so has room to grow there and maybe be the long-term kind of Norfleet successor. I was thinking about that too, because like you mentioned, it's kind of Norfleet, Harris, and then Vince Brown. I would assume he slides, above Brown and potentially above Harris if he does show that talent. But yeah, the only thing I'll add, last major season was senior in high school, and he was at Blue Valley. 22 catches, 542 yards, and 6 touchdowns in 8 games as a senior. I actually switched from wide receiver to play tight end, I know, in high school as well. So I like seeing the ties to the KC metro area and bringing some of those Mizzou guys home. You can definitely do that we talk about that all the time, doing that on the wraparound.
Yeah. And I will add Kenny, I believe. Kenny isn't here, obviously, but he did report Gavin Hoffman. I mean, it was kind of I think he said Mizzou was the only planned visit. He got on campus just a couple days after the portal opened, so kind of seemed like as predetermined as something can get.
Yeah, so we'll see how how he fits into the fold. But I am intrigued by another tight end option, and yeah, maybe it's suggestive that they are going to kind of go to that a little bit more. I would like to. I certainly would like to see tight ends used more frequently. Norfleet's injury probably didn't help with that either. You mentioned that was Mizzou's first spring portal entry. They very quickly got their second one, Payton, along with Gavin Hoffman and another, wouldn't you know it, KC guy, Xavier Loyd, transferred to Mizzou's at Illinois State last year. Started actually as a walk-on at Kansas State, and then went over to Illinois State to play there. Had a good season, 66 catches, 921 yards, 6 touchdowns last year. Had some interest, Florida State, Oklahoma, and SMU, I know were 3, and 2 years of eligibility for the former K-State walk-on. Interesting story for him and coming back to Mizzou. Your thoughts on Mizzou adding Xavier Loyd, another potential. We know how much this wide receiver room needs to be replenished. Loyd, a potential option next year.
Yeah, and I mean, Blue Springs guy, so another in-state KC Metro guy coming into the fold. Not really something I would get too like. I wouldn't put too many high hopes on him. I mean, this isn't a guy that this is more depth than anything else. Like, you hope he gives you a little more than Dennis Jackson did in 2023, but it kind of strikes me as that type of addition where you maybe have it as an insurance policy, a bit more of an experienced guy that has proven production. Drinkwitz likes to pound the table about production over potential in the portal. That's kind of what Xavier Loyd is, but I do think they kind of hope that some of the younger guys, like Daniel Blood, guys like Marquise Johnson are just ready to kind of take the mantle just kind of from guys like Theo Weiss, Mookie Cooper, and really take that step up. Xavier Loyd strikes me as someone that's more of an insurance policy if they kind of don't see development from some of those younger guys. But
yeah,
certainly I am a fan of adding in wide receiver. They've had great wide receiver units for just the past few years, really. And a lot of that goes to Jacob Peeler. A lot of credit for that goes to Jacob Peeler. He has recruited his ass off since he's been at Mizzou. So I trust his judgment on this one. Not really worried about receiver. I think this is just a nice insurance policy more than anything else.
Yeah, that's a good point. You do want to see that jump in production, I think, from some of the younger guys. But like those the deep wide receiver rooms of years past are because, those guys are pushed potentially to make that jump, by players like Xavier Loyd, which obviously Mizzou's going to want to have happen next year. The only other thing I'll throw in about him, I thought Kenny noted this in his article about him. So he's 6'2", 195 pounds, a little bit taller. Mizzou only has 2 wide receivers listed at 6'2" or taller. It's Josh Manning and James Madison. So maybe, potentially some height there as well. But yeah, I think you're right. It's probably overall an insurance option for Mizzou. I'll do the other football notes in a second. Transfers coming in. Mizzou also got a big time commit, Payton, in the class of 2026. Obviously, spring portal is busy, but like this addition because it's a passer, and guess what? It's a quarterback out of Pennsylvania. The pipeline continues. Mizzou, I think we hinted at this a little bit. Kenny might have on past shows. Mizzou landed Gavin Sidwar, quarterback out of, I forget where specifically, LaSalle. That's right. LaSalle College High School in Pennsylvania. Obviously, kind of the big headline there, Payton, the growing that pipeline. Obviously, Bo Perbila coming in from the portal out of PA, Matt Zollers in the 2025 class coming out of Pennsylvania. Your thoughts on Sidwar? This feels like a good pickup, 4-star quarterback. You get that, quarterback commit early. I know he has some ties, which I can name that Kenny talked about, to Zollers. But yeah, your thoughts on Sidwar pledging to Mizzou?
Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time a Pennsylvania quarterback committed to Missouri in the last 2 years, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's very weird it happened 3 times. But no, Kenny has, if you haven't seen it, Kenny has really done a good job.
Yeah, talk about pounding the table.
Yeah, just really kind of explaining why this pipeline kind of exists. And just how it has happened, and it's really benefited Mizzou. I mean, this this is now the second high-profile QB they've gotten out of Pennsylvania, just from the high school ranks. That's before you even get into Beau Pribula. I think Kenny had like a good quote from Sidwar in his article about how, like, when he was on his visit, Pribula and Zollers both said to him, like, yeah, Pennsylvania quarterbacks to Missouri. Just, it's so interesting, just this pipeline, but it's really paying dividends for them. Another really exciting pickup. Drinkwitz always takes a QB a class. Sometimes it's more just kind of you do it to do it. It like kind of like you're not really expecting a lot of those guys to be starters. Like Aiden Glover, I don't think they ever really anticipated him being a long-term starter. He's already out of the mix. But Sidwar, I mean, a 4-star from an area they clearly like. Maybe you look at that as some type of succession plan to Zollers down the road. You really just don't know. You can never have enough QBs, I think. I really like that they take a QB a cycle, and it seems like they got one of their top targets. So I think it's overall a job well done from the staff.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of a general more thought that just popped in my head while you're saying that. And maybe this they are an exception to the norm, but I kind of still feel like quarterback has sort of that traditional, like, tend to be a little bit more patient. They don't transfer a ton after 1 year. I still feel like that is kind of a real thing, to your point of, like, taking one quarterback a cycle, you have that kind of longer term succession plan. I don't know. I feel like I do see quarterbacks sticking around, whereas if they maybe played another position and they were obviously the second string guy, they transfer. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. It's kind of funny. They already have this pipeline, but you haven't really seen any of them on the field right yet with Pribula, Zollers, and now Sidwar. So hopefully it pays dividends for Mizzou on the field. But yeah, I really like this pickup. He's obviously the third commit in the class of 2026, along with DeMonte Timms, the safety, and Anthony Kennedy Jr., the defensive tackle. Other notes on him: he was a Rutgers commit at one point.
Yep.
I noted that from Kenny's article, and then he worked with Tim Taggart, who is the same quarterbacks coach as Matt Zollers. So that's the tie-in there. Threw for 2,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, 6 picks, 67% completion percentage as a junior at LaSalle. I know stats don't really matter as much at the prep scene, but that's what he did there. So I like this pickup a lot for Mizzou. I agree. I think it's nice to get it knocked out early. Good start so far to the 2026 class. Any other Sidwar notes?
No, I mean, obviously, still a long way away from signing day as well. I know that it was like Ole Miss was pretty in on Sidwar. You can never really discount Lane flipping someone late. I know Syracuse was really in on him. Fran Brown is a recruiting ace as well. So
yeah,
got to obviously keep him in the fold, but I feel very confident just given the sudden surge of Pennsylvania QBs coming to Mizzou that they'll be able to keep this one locked in.
Yeah, Zollers, it never felt like Zollers really wavered. So, sometimes
he took one visit to Penn State that got people curious.
That's right. Okay. So, that could happen naturally as that being close, but we'll see. So yeah, Gavin Sidwar, third commit in 2026 for Mizzou. A couple of quick notes back to the spring portal season as well. Missouri is going to have a couple of visitors. We're doing Kenny's dirty work for him and reporting his reporting on the show. Missouri is going to have a couple of visitors. Florida State offensive tackle Jalen Early will be at Mizzou, so a portal target to watch there. He was a sophomore at Florida State last year, and then another one out of Miami, same state. Edge rusher Elias Rudolph will also be at Mizzou. Payton, I don't know if you have any early thoughts on them. Obviously, just a visit, but two more guys to watch. We were told Mizzou, like, we had gotten the vibe that Mizzou was going to be pretty active in the spring portal. They already have two commits, a couple guys visiting, so that's definitely living up so far. You have thoughts on either of these two guys?
Just with Early, I know he played, I believe, right tackle and right guard according to PFF. I'd have to double check that. But maybe they bring him in to be that competition at left tackle spot, because we've heard Kenny has said also he kind of expect, or maybe that's just maybe somewhere they're looking for competition, because they did bring in the West Virginia transfer. They have Javen Richardson still in the fold, but maybe not 100% set there. So maybe that's what Early's for. Maybe it's just more depth. I'm a firm believer in keeping the trenches stock full as much as you can. So I have no problem with bringing in Jalen Early, even if he just sticks at guard or right tackle. And Rudolph, I said production over potential earlier. Like that's how Drinkwitz thinks. This is a pure potential fit, which is fine at edge rusher. They're totally stacked up top there. Nobody they bring in at this point is going to be fighting for snaps. So I think this is probably a long-term play, but still just something to keep an eye on there. I still am shocked we haven't seen any buzz around like any defensive tackle guys or maybe any corners. We'll see what happens. It's still more than a week left, I believe, until the spring portal closes. So still plenty of time to get some more names in there.
Yeah, Rudolph, that's a good point. I mean, he's a 4-star recruit, redshirt freshman. I think he only had 1 tackle last year. So yeah, definitely a potential guy, but he was top 25 guy in his position as a recruit. So that'll be interesting. And yeah, you make a good point too. I would like to see them linked to a few more names, particularly at that D tackle and corner position. Those positions, I mean, it's just part of it is cost too. I mean, those positions are hard to, they cost a lot. They're very valued commodities on the defense. So we'll see what Mizzou does there in the last week of the portal. A couple of quick hoops notes. I don't know if you have anything else on the spring window.
No, I don't.
I thought you were down there scrolling through names and just like,
nope,
please
just
dream signing of a defensive tackle. Couple quick basketball notes just some portal guys who have gone elsewhere. Parsa Fala was one, the center.
Parsa Fala.
Is it Fala? Yeah,
I believe Fala.
Yeah. I thought that's what I said. Maybe I didn't. The center he was at Oregon State. He ended up transferring to Oklahoma State. Missouri was reportedly interested. And then this was the other one, which was a bit of a bummer. Payton and I were talking about it on air. We talked about it last show. Adante Holloman, the point guard out of your Georgia Southern Eagles, Payton. Big Joss. We were bummed we didn't have you on as a big Josso guy. Kind of a sharp shooting guard. He ended up transferring to Arizona State already. So I think we talked about him just last show. So still, Payton, I'll bring our conversation off air into the fold. Still need shooting from Mizzou men's basketball. That's what I would like to see. You mentioned football, corner, and D tackle. Mizzou's got to get some shooters, or I think at least a shooter in the portal for me still.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they're going to use all 15 spots and use those last 2 spots, I think both should be on a 3-point shooter. I really wouldn't care if they just Dennis Gates will never do this, but I would not mind if they just kind of pooled whatever money they have left together to get one guy, and it's just one really good 3-point shooter. Adante Holloman definitely would have been an interesting addition. He's very small, I will say that. So it would have been a pure like we just need a guy to sink threes addition. But I really think that would have been okay. I think that's just kind of what they need. I would just like to see at least one more shooter brought into the fold.
Yeah, that's for sure what I'm still looking for. Portal open also for another week in football. I think April 26th is when it closes. Obviously, they can still get guys after that point, but that is when all the names who can't enter that pool have to enter it by. Other quick note here, and we're going to talk some gymnastics as well in a second, but for Mizzou men's basketball last year, Tamar Bates earned a little bit of an honor. He made the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament, of course, notorious for Connor Vanover. He made the all-tournament team. He did. Some good names on there. So congrats to Tamar Bates. Payton, is he going to have to serve a 4-game suspension after he gets somehow a waiver to come back next year after playing?
Lord knows, honestly. I mean, Connor Vanover obviously had to do that, but I mean, I don't think that'll wind up being a thing Missouri is faced with, but that's kind of, if he was somehow able to get the extra year, they probably would have to be facing that suspension.
Yeah, that was such a funny loophole when we learned about that with Vanover. So yeah, if you come back, and obviously we don't think Tamar's coming back, or there's so much up in the air right now with just some some players who are like entering the portal, even though they don't have any eligibility left. Tamar Bates, I don't think even has done that. And, we're not expecting anything, but yeah, congrats to him. That's a cool honor. Hopefully he can stick somewhere in the pros. That will be very fun. A tiger in the wild is in Tamar Bates' future. Last thing before we go to our mock draft, Mizzou Gymnastics, Payton, we got to talk about it because they concluded their season and it was the best one in program history. This was really awesome. Just reading about this, following the team, and they obviously didn't end up winning a national championship, which would have been Mizzou's third ever, I believe, in team history. But Mizzou Gymnastics finished third in the NCAA championship finals behind Oklahoma and UCLA. Utah finished fourth, which I don't know if you saw that, Peyton. Utah finished fourth. It was like a late after the meet review that propelled Mizzou into third, which is always, fine margins for gymnastics, but concluded just an awesome season. 197.2500 was their final score, by the way, in Fort Worth. Like I mentioned, last time an MU team won a national championship was track and field in 1965, but this was the best gymnastics season in program history. Their best performance since 2022, actually. So Shannon Welker absolutely building a program. Peyton, your thoughts? I thought this was awesome, especially competing in an SEC, like to have a season like this. I know we're going to talk about Helen Hugh as well. So yeah, congrats to Mizzou Gymnastics. Your thoughts on their third place in the NCAA championship final?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just been, this program's been on a steady incline. Since you and I were going to school there back in 2019, it's been just a program on the rise. Third place is obviously incredible. Most people did not expect them to even be really in that top two or in that top four competing on Saturday. Most people were expecting it to be Oklahoma and Florida advancing from the semifinals, but very obviously an incredible finish. Helen Hugh, we'll just mention her.
Yeah.
She was the national champion on the beam. No surprise, she had like 50.
The beam queen
this year,
officially official.
Like that. Missouri had like a whole host of All-Americans. Elise Tisler and Jocelyn Moore on the vault. Tisler was first team, Moore was second team. On uneven bars, Hannah Norton was second team. Mara T. Tarsali was a first teamer, and Olivia Kelly was a second teamer. On balance beam, obviously Hugh was first teamer. Addison Lawrence was a second teamer, and Olivia Kelly was a second teamer. And all around All-American, Amari Celestine was a second team all arounder. So just an unbelievable team. Very fitting that they had the best finish in school history. I'm sure there will be many more opportunities for them going forward.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for them. Already, I'll double on this or double down on that. Not only was it the best finish for Mizzou in Mizzou Gymnastics history, it was the best postseason finish for any women's program in Mizzou's history, which is pretty wild. Finishing third, obviously, in the national or in the national championship. Yeah, Helen Hugh. To do what she did too, and I'd read about this. She took a year off from the sport last year. Her redshirt junior year was 2023. She took a year off last year in 2024, and then comes back and just absolutely kills it. She will be missed, obviously, as her career wraps up. I wrote down, I think I noted her final score, 9.9625 on the beam in her last act. Obviously, not another perfect 10, which would have been electric, but I know they started pretty down. It was already like, their first two routines didn't go great, but they worked their way back up and finished third.
Yeah, they were pulled off. Like, they stopped showing Mizzou like on the ABC broadcast, I guess. I didn't get to watch. I was busy, but I did see that people were not happy about that. But hey, they eventually crawled into third. Oklahoma is literally
powerhouse.
Like, it's them and LSU ordinarily. LSU didn't make it this year. But it's normally those two at the top, I believe. So not really a surprise there. But again, third place, I don't think you can call that anything but a remarkable success.
Yeah. Mizzou Gymnastics School, Helen Hugh, beam queen, officially coronated, crowned. And obviously it goes without saying, she's the first Mizzou gymnast to win an individual national title. So hopefully that can kind of set the bar for some elite performers going forward. And pretty awesome stuff from Mizzou Gymnastics. Payton, I'll throw it to you. You have a softball note as well before we go to Mr. Infante and our mock draft.
Yeah, we'll throw a quick shout out to the softball team. They picked up their second win over the number one team of the season. They ruled Texas A&M in their series finale. It was a pretty competitive series. I believe Mizzou softball has actually played a bit better as of late, but probably a bit too little too late. They're 4-14 in SEC play, but two of those wins have been over number ones. Earlier this season, it was Oklahoma. This time around, it was A&M. So,
hey, growing theme of beating. I mean, I guess Florida wasn't number one in men's basketball, but the eventual national champion. Now you've beaten number one in softball twice. This reminds me too of like when women's basketball beat South Carolina, and that season didn't end up going. I don't know. Maybe it's a bad thing to beat number one with how you do in the postseason. But yeah, see how much they can turn it around in the final stretch. All right. So much Mizzou happenings. We'll obviously have more portal notes and stuff, I'm sure, for next show. But for now, we'll go to the annual Unwritten Rule mock draft. Thank you to everybody who submitted. We will kick it to ourselves.
And now for something completely different.
Okay, it's that time of year. We now welcome on a very special guest. First and foremost, good friend of the program. It's our resident NFL draft expert, Jacob Infante, which means, no, we are not exclusively talking about Mizzou draft prospects, though we do have a couple that will come up in the 2025 Unwritten Rule NFL mock draft. This has become a yearly tradition, with the exception of last year, of doing a mock draft. We ask you, the fine people, to contribute. Jacob Infante, first of all, thank you for being on to help analyze the picks. We're going to go through the entire first round. I want to do all 7 rounds, but I was vetoed. We're going to go through the first round. Jacob's going to give his analysis. Jacob, thank you for finding some participants as well. These picks were made, at least a majority of them. How many, Payton, were made by Infante versus the people?
Most of the picks were made by other people. Jacob, I would say, I didn't do like a final count. He made probably 10 picks, I'd say.
Okay.
And I'll obviously highlight who picked who.
Yeah, most of the draft was selected by some gracious viewers. We'll give you guys a shout out as the picks go on. But yeah, we have an entire mock draft. The NFL draft starts this coming Thursday, so we're running it for you guys on Monday. First of all, I think Peyton's going to be our commissioner, so I need to do this. Peyton's going to read the picks.
Yep.
And you got to do the Goodell. Bring it on.
Or even it's COVID Goodell. I'm sitting in a chair.
You got M&Ms?
No, I don't have any M&Ms next to me. But,
them all. Yeah,
they're here in spirit.
All right, so Peyton's going to read the picks. We'll go in order from 1 to 32. We've got a simulator up too, so you can follow along if you're watching on the YouTube. Kenny is on production duty. He is in here as well, though. So yeah, good mock draft. Thank you to everybody who submitted a pick. And I think without further ado, along with the guidance of our resident expert, Jacob Infante, let's get it started. Mr. Commissioner.
With the first pick in the 2025 Unwritten Rule NFL mock draft, the Tennessee Titans, the former Houston Oilers, actually making the pick for them is our resident producer, Kenny Van Doren, a.k.a. Shaggy. Kenny, as the Titans, selects Cam Ward, quarterback, Miami.
Woo, I didn't get a applauding noise.
It's probably between Jacob. You can weigh in here. I know that the first overall pick actually does have a little bit of suspense, but it does seem like it's going to wind up being Cam Ward.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, that's definitely what it's trending towards. I mean, he's the best quarterback in this class, in my opinion. It's, Titans have a great position to move off of a guy in Will Levis who hasn't been very good in his first 2 years in the league. And I mean, with him being a second-round pick, it's not like you gave up the farm to go get him. I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion at this point. Ward's going to be the guy, and he's got a better arm, in my opinion, than Shedeur Sanders, and he's more accurate or more consistent, I should say, than Jackson Dart. So that's why he's my QB1. That's why he's probably going to be the first overall pick.
Well done, Shaggy. Good pick. Jacob agrees with you. Moving on to the second pick.
Kenny doesn't have any analysis.
I wanted the Texans. I pass it off to our good friend Zach Hernandez, who's been on the show before. He's actually banned from coming back on
He
the
is
show.
banned.
But I mean, it was an easy one. It was a layup. If you're not in tune really with social media, or this is one of those hard things to try to explain to Peyton's grandmother as well. He was playing a game called Fortnite on Xbox, and he listed all of his favorite players, and they were all on the Titans. So that's. I mean, it just.
He said Treylon Burks was a top 4 receiver in the NFL.
But at one point, people thought he would be. They thought he was going to be the next AJ Brown.
Yeah,
that's true.
But,
all
shit.
right, Infante.
I just realized I said a no word. It just slipped out. You guys might need to bleep that.
No, it doesn't matter on this show, Jacob. Don't worry about it.
All right. Stop. I might say some raunchy things like poo and the like. So
how about we move on to the second pick?
All right.
Yeah.
This one was made by our resident draft expert, Jacob Infante. With the second pick in the Unwritten Rule NFL mock draft, the Cleveland Browns select Travis Hunter, cornerback / wide receiver from Colorado. I want to move right into the third pick because this was also made by Jacob. With the third pick in the Unwritten Rule NFL mock draft, the New York Giants select Abdul Carter, edge rusher from Penn State. Jacob, back-to-back picks there for you. 2 of probably the best players in the draft. You can add just kind of why you think. I think the Giants, there is some buzz. Maybe they go QB, but you play it safe and just pick the best player on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it makes a lot of sense, especially in this kind of draft class, to go best player available above forcing it for a quarterback. Like, if Cam Ward were available at 3, that'd be a different story, but that's realistically not going to happen at this stage. I think this is probably what the top 3 is going to end up being. The top quarterback going first overall, and then the top 2 overall players being 2 and 3 in some order. I had Travis Hunter to the Browns here. I think, he fits a bit more of a pressing need. Also, I know, the Browns GM, Andrew Berry, has been super complimentary of his two-way abilities, what he can do on offense, what he can do on defense. And he compared him to Ohtani, I believe. He called him he's got the potential to be like a unicorn type player in the NFL. And then Abdul Carter's the best pass rusher. I actually have him as my number 1 overall player and Hunter's number 2, but it's so close between the two. It doesn't necessarily matter what order, in my opinion. Get another edge rusher opposite Brian Burns. Kayvon Thibodeau hasn't lived up to expectations, so you can look to deal him on draft day to a pass rush needy team, get an upgraded edge, and then add some additional draft capital there. So that's what I think at least the first 3 picks are going to end up like.
I like
Very good.
I like it. Do you think Hunter or Carter and Hunter's that close?
I do think it's pretty close, yeah. And I think I'd say Abdul Carter is a bit more consistent, at least with what you see from Travis Hunter in coverage. But I also think Hunter's upside is the highest of anyone in this class because you're looking at it. He's someone I think if he's a full-time receiver, I think he could consistently flirt with 1,000 yards. And you're looking at a guy at cornerback who has the ball skills of a wide receiver who could have like a good 4 or 5 interceptions every year and be a perennial Pro Bowl type of guy. So it's close. It's close for me. I mean, I think Carter's a bit more polished and they're both freak athletes. So I don't really think you can go wrong either way.
Do you think Hunter, is it a full-time receiver deal for him? Do you think he should commit to one, or is there like a way to balance it?
I mean, I think he's definitely going to play both sides of the football and to some extent. I think his ceiling's a little bit higher as a cornerback than it is at receiver. That's just me. I know some people feel differently. The consensus leans a little bit towards corner, but I mean, he's going to play both sides of the ball. I don't know if it's going to be every single snap on every single offensive and defensive play, but with a player like that, you got to use him on both sides of the ball. I think, he's proven he can do that at a high level, at Colorado, where the air's a little bit thinner, it's a little bit tougher to breathe. So that really speaks to his, really speaks to his stamina too. So I think wherever he ends up, he's going to play maybe even if it's not every single snap on both sides of the ball, he's going to play a good amount on both sides.
I like it. All right, Mr. Commissioner.
with the 4th overall pick in the 2025 Unwritten Rule NFL mock draft, the New England Patriots, controlled by good friend of the show Chase Madison, select Armand Membou, offensive tackle, Missouri. Jacob, the first tackle off the
I like
board
no cap,
is
man. He's the
Armand
main
Membou in this
bird.
mock draft. Maybe a little bit of a homer pick, but your thoughts on Membou and potentially him going in the top 10?
Yeah, I mean, I think Membou's going to go top 10 for sure. I think looking at the way the board's played out, I'd expect the Patriots to go offensive line here. I think if you compare Armand Membou and Will Campbell from LSU, those are my top 2 offensive tackles in this class. It's really they're both great players. It's just what flavor of offensive tackle you'd prefer. I mean, I'd say Campbell is, he's a tremendous athlete as well. I'd say he's a little bit more spatially aware, a little bit more fundamentally consistent. But at the same time, I'd say Membou's bigger, he's stronger, he's got longer arms. So it just really depends on if you want to bet for upside, which I think Membou has the highest ceiling, but I think Campbell's got a higher floor, indicating that Campbell's going to be the safer prospect, but Membou's going to be, if you want to swing for the fences, then I think you can go in Membou's direction. I mean, he's always been an incredible athlete. I mean, and I think anyone who's kept up with Mizzou football has known that, but he's really come a long way as far as how he knows how to use his hands, where to place his hands when he locks up with someone, and get a little bit lower in the pads, get a little bit more bend in his knees. They say the lower man wins, and I think Membou did a much better job of that, of generating that lower half bend in 24 than he did in 23. I have Campbell above Membou, but it's not by a ton, honestly. So this, whatever, just shut up. I think it's very close though. So I'd go Campbell here, but at the same time, I really can't judge. I really can't judge against Membou. He's someone who, at least in my opinion, I don't think should fall out of the top 7. If he does somehow, I mean, I don't think he's getting past the Saints at 9. He'll be, I looked into this, he'd be Mizzou's first top 10 pick since 2011. Would any of you guys want to take a stab? The last top 10 pick Mizzou has had in the NFL draft.
Wasn't Blaine Gabbert, was it? Was he 8? Was he pick 8? No, wasn't Blaine Gabbert.
I think Blaine Gabbert was 11 that year.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Let me check to confirm, but I'm like
he didn't have the answer for us.
Oh, was it Sheldon Richardson?
No.
Oh yeah. No.
Oh, okay, so hold on. Yeah, Blaine Gabbert was the 10th pick, so that's one. But single digit
I was
pick.
right.
The last
single digit.
You were right. You were right. The last single digit pick, though.
The funny thing is, we've done this before.
Yeah,
we've had this exact same trivia.
Is it a D lineman?
It's not It's not Witherspoon, is it?
Not Witherspoon. It's a D lineman.
D lineman. Oh, Alden Smith.
Oh, Alden Smith. Yeah.
Alden Smith. He was the 7th pick in 2011.
There you go. And Fontel, I just one more Membou thing. Your thoughts, and we won't take the song on every pick, but we do want to with the Mizzou guys. Within that top 10, where NFL wise, like, is the fit you'd like the most for him of the teams that might need a tackle? Because I've seen him, yes, the Patriots, I feel like is maybe the highest. I've seen him to the Jets a lot. Like you said, the Saints. I think your Bears at 10 need an offensive lineman, or I guess they kind of got one in if I'm not mistaken. But where do you maybe see football wise best fit for him?
Yeah, I'd say the best fit is I'm going to put it as a tie between the Jets and the Saints. I mean, I think either one of those spots, you're slotting him in as his natural right tackle. I think Membou can play left tackle, and if that's where you value him most, I think play him there. That said, it is going to be easier for him to stay as a right tackle. So I think that the Jets and the Saints both have their left tackle planned out. I mean, the Jets drafted Olu Fashanu from Penn State last year. The Saints got Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State last year. So both of those guys playing at left tackle. Membou would be able to slot in as right tackle right out of the gate. I think both of those teams need offensive line investments. I mean, neither of those units are bad, but I think you have the chance to link up two really talented young offensive tackles. That's really valuable for you because, best case scenario, you have both those guys playing at a high level for cheap for a couple of years. That's going to help you, bring in some other guys along the defensive line, at receiver, in the secondary, whatever it looks like. So those are the two teams, the Jets and the Saints, I think would be the best fits for Membou. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd love him in Chicago at 10. I don't think he's there. I think his floor is number 9.
Okay. Floor number
Very
9.
nice.
Let's rattle through a few more picks, Mr. Commissioner. Oh, wait.
Yeah, we'll go up to pick 10 here. But first, another Jacob Infante pick. Not many people wanted the top 10 teams here. But with the 5th overall pick in the 2025 Unwritten Rule mock draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. Moving into the 6th pick.
A lot of chimes.
With the 6th overall pick in the 2025 Unwritten Rule NFL mock draft, selected by Coy Range, we have the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Ashton Genty. Coy did specify he actually really wanted Armand Membou at that pick. Coy Range, for those that don't know, friend of the show. With the 7th overall pick in the Unwritten Rule NFL mock draft, the New York Jets, being helmed by GM Peter Camp, select Will Campbell, offensive lineman from LSU. With the 8th overall pick, once again selected by Jacob Infante. Boy, our resident NFL drafting guy is off the mark right now. Jacob Infante, as the Carolina Panthers, selects Jalen Walker, linebacker from Georgia. Jacob Infante as the Saints at the 9th overall pick.
I guess
the second quarterback is off the board rather. Shadur Sanders from Colorado is off the board here. And we'll round out this little flurry with me selecting for the Chicago Bears at pick 10. This is pretty much a nightmare board. I was forced into Tyler Warren. Jacob threw a lot of picks there at you. What are your thoughts kind of on that group of players? Anything stand out to you? Shadur off the board to New Orleans is one that jumped out to me.
Yeah, I think people are going to have the most interest in Sanders being that 9th overall pick. I mean, like I said, I think their dream should be one of Campbell or Membou falls to them at 9. That doesn't happen in this case, but I think there's definitely, a lot of value in taking a quarterback there. I mean, I'm not extremely high on Shadur Sanders. I think he could be a good starter. I think that's his ceiling, though. And I think in order for him to reach that, a lot is going to have to go right around him. The Saints really don't have a super strong infrastructure right now. So that's what I'm a little bit worried about. But I do think the Saints, their rebuild is long overdue. It's something they should have done like 3 years ago or 3-4 years ago, whenever it was that Drew Brees retired. That was something they should have committed to, and they didn't. And now they don't have a lot of good assets, a lot of good young players, haven't drafted super well. You've been in cap hell the last couple of years. So I think drafting a quarterback, that's finally committing to something that you should have been doing a long time ago, which is embracing the youth movement, trading whoever. I mean, Ryan Ramczyk just retired, so they have that opening at right tackle. I do expect them to take someone along that offensive line with one of their early picks, but Sanders, I think he's accurate. He's tough. He could distribute the ball quickly. I think the key with him is if he embraces that point, just a basketball analogy, the quarterback's the point guard, right? I think Shadur plays a lot of too much ISO ball. I think he needs to embrace that his skill set is best suited as a facilitator. He doesn't have an elite arm. He's not an elite athlete. He's not this creative playmaker who's going to make, insane plays like Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, anything like that. But if he can get the ball out quickly, if he can facilitate, if he can hit guys on the short route pretty quickly, then, which he's shown he can do. It's just a mentality thing with him. So other than that, Genty, I think, makes so much sense for the Raiders. Will Campbell on the Jets. I know I talked about they need a tackle. Jalen Walker to the Panthers. I really don't know what they're going to do. I think it's going to be defense early. Maybe they take Tedero McMillan. I don't know. But I think Jalen Walker, I think he's acceptable there. I mean, they used to have Frankie Louvu on that roster. I think Jalen Walker would fit such a similar role as a guy who's mostly an off-ball linebacker, but someone who can rush off the edge. You can move him around everywhere. He's a really good athlete. So, and then Tyler Warren. I'm with you there. That's a nightmare board for the Bears. But Warren, I think, is a good enough consolation prize. I mean, I feel pretty confident he'll be a top 10 tight end at some point. Top 5, I don't know, but top 10, I think he can be good. And those are guys who end up making like good $13, $14 million a year. So that's a valuable type of piece if you can get that. So I wouldn't be thrilled. I wouldn't be mad at all with Tyler Warren, I guess is what I'm saying.
Mr. Commish, you have a note on your selection?
No, I mean, like I said, really not a great board. I was really hoping.
Who would you have wanted?
Genty, Membou, or Campbell were my top 3, and none of them fell. I really almost considered Josh Simmons here. I was close to kind of pulling the trigger on that one. Wouldn't have taken McMillan. Wouldn't have taken Banks here. I thought about Colston Loveland for a half second. Decided against that. Just went with Tyler Warren.
It looked like I was talking as Payton there because you can see my face on the screen. You can
Jesus, this is really great. That's awesome.
All right, Mr. Commissioner.
We're gonna go through pick 15 here. Jacob Infante is back on the clock as the San Francisco 49ers with the 11th overall pick in the 2025 Unwritten Rule mock draft.
Sorry, I missed that one.
The San Francisco 49ers select Will Johnson, cornerback from the University of Michigan. Hail to the victors. Moving into pick 12, we have a pick from friend of the show. Boy, our soundboard guy is totally fired after this. This is pathetic. RJ Okoa, a good friend of the show, our resident Cowboys expert. He selects for the Cowboys in this one. He takes Tedero McMillan, wide receiver, University of Arizona. So good pick there. I know RJ was probably pretty excited for that one. Jacob Infante once again on the board at pick 13, picking for the Miami Dolphins. Jacob selected Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State, as the 13th player off the board. Pick number 14. Another member that's of the show that has been banned, or not member of the show, but another member of the banned from the show list. Justin Bear, a good friend of the show, former radio host with me as well on another show. He picked for his Indianapolis Colts, Shamar Stewart, edge rusher from the University of Texas A&M. And we'll round out this block of picks with pick 15. Jacob Infante back on the clock again as the Atlanta Falcons. He selected Michael Williams, and that will round out our block of picks there.
I feel like the place to start to me here, Jacob, is RJ's pick at 12, McMillan. Do you see him falling that far? Does he get snagged earlier? Could he drop to 12? And is he what are your thoughts on his fit with the Cowboys? Because Payton mentioned RJ being pretty excited. I feel like I would be too if you could snag him.
Yeah, I feel like the highest McMillan could go is 8 or 9 to the Panthers and Saints respectively. Neither of those picks would really surprise me. I'll admit I don't have McMillan as a top 10 player in this class, but I think there's a lot to like with him. I'm pretty sure I have him top 15. So, I mean, I think this is pretty good value at 12. The Cowboys have desperately needed another wide receiver to complement CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I think they're both kind of bigger body guys, but I think that McMillan and CeeDee kind of win in different ways. Lamb's much more of a technical route runner. McMillan's a lot more of a throw it up and he'll come down and get it. sort of guy. I think 12 is about fair for him. Honestly, I think there's a lot of upside in a goal line sort of situation with him, or in the red zone, because he's so big and he's got the ball skills and everything. I think that'd be a solid pick. I wouldn't be shocked if they go with a running back here either. I think Omarion Hampton's got to be in consideration with how bad their run game was last year. I mean, they brought in Javonte Williams, but that's probably that's a lower tier starter. So Hampton wouldn't surprise me there, but honestly, McMillan's a pretty solid bet there too. Looking at some of those other picks, Shamar Stewart is probably the most divisive player in this class. I think he's someone who's like 6'5", listed around 265. When he played at Texas A&M, they had him around like 280, 285. Freak athlete. He's super fast, super strong. Doesn't really know what he's doing out there. And I think that's got people ranging from, he's going to be a top 10 pick because of how high his ceiling is, to some people don't have true first round grades on him. I don't have a true first round grade on Shamar Stewart.
Wow.
Justin, if you're hearing this, you suck. I would have taken Colton Loveland instead, the tight end from Michigan. But
he did almost take Loveland. He did.
Okay. That's fair. Almost.
Our draft expert just insulting our gracious viewers.
Yeah, so Justin, he's banned from the show. He's banned from
That's a good point, actually.
What's he going to do? You're going to have him on the show, and you'll be like, no, this is why I took Shamar. No, he's banned. You can't say anything. But no, I mean, it's not a bad pick. It's not what I would have done. I get the appeal, though. So, and then Mykel Williams, when I took him with the Falcons pick there, I think Mykel Williams, I have him as edge 3. Just because looking at some of the other guys, I mean, James Pierce, I have it too, but he's got character issues. Mike Green's got character issues. Nick Scorton, I really like from Texas A&M. Doesn't have an elite athletic ceiling, and then Shamar Stewart's super raw. So Mykel Williams, I feel like, is a decent middle ground to where he's still a little bit raw, but he's more refined than a Shamar Stewart. He's more athletic than a Nick Scorton, and he doesn't have the off-the-field eyebrow-raising concerns of a Pierce or a Mike Green. So he's like the solid middle ground to me. So that's why I went with that, and the Falcons needed pass rush help for a long time.
All right. There's the next flurry of picks. I'll kick it back to our dear commish.
Great news, everyone. We're going to have a run of notes for like 10 picks. We're going to go up through 20 here. With the 16th pick in the Unwritten Rule NFL mock draft of 2025, the Arizona Cardinals, under control of some person named Connor Haverman. I don't know who he is.
Who?
Haverman as the.
You want me to play the boo, Payton? Or
I don't know who this person is.
Oh, okay. All right.
He selects Jedi Barron, cornerback from Texas. Moving on to the 17th pick. Under control of @SG Purcell on Twitter, the Cincinnati Bengals select. Hold on. Mike Green. I lost my own list there. Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall. With the 18th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks, under control of Jack Knowlton himself. The Seattle Seahawks select Tyler Booker, a guard from Alabama, in one of the least surprising picks I've ever seen. With the 19th overall pick, at Fleetwood with 5 E's, a lot of E's, Fleetwood on Twitter, controlling the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, selects Jihad Campbell, a linebacker from Alabama. And we'll round out this block of picks with a fun one. With the 20th overall pick, the Denver Broncos, under control of friend of the show Tyler Kading, select Luther Burden, wide receiver, Missouri.
All right, Infante.
Jacob, we need Luther Burden analysis. Obviously.
Luther thoughts?
Yeah.
No, I like no cap, and he's the main bird.
I did it for Membou. I did it for Luther too.
All right, so I think Luther Burden to the Broncos, honestly, it makes sense because looking at that wide receiver room, your main two guys at this stage, like you have Marvin Mims as your, as a secondary guy. Cortland Sutton's the wide receiver one in Denver right now, but I think they need someone who's like an in-between of both. And I think that when you have someone like Luther Burden, who's, he's fast, he's powerful, he's shifty after the catch. He's maybe not as physical at the catch point as a Cortland Sutton or as fast as a Marvin Mims, but I feel like his weaknesses, I mean, they're not even to say those are weaknesses. Like Burden's an above average athlete. He's good at the catch point, even if he's not the biggest dude in the world. He wins with ball skills and he's got really good balance through contact at the catch point. So I think this is fair. I think the NFL's a little bit lower on Luther than I am. And, I take it that most of us in, like this Mizzou kind of circle are. And part of that comes down to the drop of production, the inferior usage in 2024, which I don't necessarily think was all his fault. I do think Burden still has a little bit of room to grow as a route runner in terms of how he senses out how to disguise his route concepts. I think that's something where, you don't necessarily look at him as a cornerback and say, oh, I have no idea what he's going to run here based off of down and distance, based off of formation. It'd be like, he could be running anything. Like, I feel like cornerbacks have a decent enough idea of what he's going to run. Sometimes he can just get open because of how athletic he is. I want to see him do a little bit better job of, I guess, disguising some of the routes in like those first couple steps. It's try and trick him exactly which direction he's going to go. But all that to say, I like Luther a lot. He's my wide receiver 2 in this class still. He's someone I'd certainly use a top 20 pick on. Even if he falls to round 2, I feel like that'd be tremendous value. So I like that pick for the Broncos. Do I think they make that pick? I don't. But if I were in charge there in Denver, it'd be pretty tough to convince me otherwise that that's not the pick, or at least that it shouldn't be the pick.
I just am curious on like that note, and you kind of touched on it. Do you see him being a day one guy? And we won't spoil the final 10 picks here that we're going to rattle off, but you're plugged into so much draft stuff on the vibe you're getting. Do you think he goes on that first day, or is he a guy that maybe makes the team really happy in round 2?
I think he'll end up in round 2. I do. I think that's where a lot of the buzz is right now. Do I agree with it?
I'm just kidding. That's not you. That's not you.
Not me. Don't kill the messenger. It's not my fault. But no, I love Luther. I think, do I have some bias? Absolutely. But all that said, I'm not nearly as worried about the dip in production he had in 2024 because I saw the way that Mizzou's offense used him, and I don't think they maximized him as a full traditional receiver nearly as well as they did in 23. But I mean, it is what it is. I think someone early in round 2 is really going to like him. I just think you look at some of the other receivers near the top. I mean, McMillan, I think, is a safe bet to go ahead of Luther. Matthew Golden coming off an incredible playoff with Texas. He ran super fast to the combine. He's the trendy prospect right now. I think he goes before Luther. Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. That's one where I wouldn't be offended if he went before Luther because I get it. I think he's got a higher floor than Luther does. I think he's a safer pick. Maybe doesn't have as high of a ceiling, but I like Egbuka a lot. And then probably there's when you're looking at Luther as the wide receiver 4 off the board. I still have him as wide receiver 2 for what it's worth, but yeah, I think he ends up falling to round 2.
It's fair. This fair analysis, as much as we may not want to hear it in these circles. This is why we bring in our resident draft expert. This is what we do. I try.
Knowlton, you want to touch on your pick real quick before we move on?
Oh, sure. I'll throw some 2 cents in. This was consensus. I consulted with a fellow Seahawks fan on this. I know Infante is not a big fan of Tyler Booker. I was going to pick one of the Alabama guys. I've watched a ton of Jahad Campbell and Tyler Booker. I would love if Seattle got either one of them. So if neither of them fell, I would have had some decisions to make, but I'm glad I could pick up one. I think they're both solid prospects, Infante. If that, that's my take, but you obviously know more ball than I do. But yes, Payton. As Payton said, it was a very obvious pick. I was not going to pass on Mr. Booker.
That's fair. I mean, I feel like, and when I say I'm not like super high on Booker, like I wouldn't like him for the Bears at 10. I wouldn't mind him at all, like late round 1. And I think 18 is around that's around the ceiling of when I'd start considering him. For Seattle, it makes a ton of sense because that offensive line's a massive work in progress. You're bringing in Sam Darnold. It's a totally new look team compared to what they had last year. If you want to give Sam Darnold a fair shot, I think your best bet is to protect him. And I don't think they have the offensive line in place to be able to do that right now. So whether it's a tackle, whether it's a guard, I don't think you can go wrong with either. I mean, Tyler Booker's my top guard in this class. He's a fringe round 1, round 2 type of guy for me, but I think he's someone where for the most part, you do away with the poor testing at the combine. You turn on the tape. You see the intangibles there. You see the power. You see the stout anchor, the low center of gravity, the heavy hands, the pad level, the spatial awareness that got a lot better in 2024. And you see a guy who could be, I feel like he'd have to be surrounded by more athletic guys who can kind of handle those stunts a little bit better at the NFL level. Just because I don't think Booker's a tremendous athlete, but I think he's a pretty damn good football player. So I don't hate that for Seattle at all. I think that's their biggest need. If they have Booker as their top offensive lineman who's available at that time, which judging off of who was available at the time is certainly a fair argument, then by all means, just go nuts. So I do like that pick.
All right. We'll rattle through the last 10, Mr. Commish. Finish it out.
Last 12.
Yes, sorry, last 12. I can't do math. There's 32 teams.
From Rhode Island?
I'm in NBA mode.
We will finish out this draft. We'll start with the Pittsburgh Steelers at pick 21. This is from Twitter user at YHSpar. X user. Everything happens on X.
There you go.
YHSpar. He selects Walter Nolan, defensive lineman from Ole Miss for the Steelers. I'm a big fan of Walter Nolan, so good pick there in my opinion. At 22, pick made by Luke Magnanti, a good friend of the show. The Los Angeles Chargers select Colston Loveland, a tight end from Michigan. I really like that fit personally.
Yeah, that's fun.
For obvious reasons.
Armand guy.
Yeah. 23, the Green Bay Packers. Coy Range is back on the clock here. He selects Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky, for his Green Bay Packers. Moving on to pick 24, friend of the show, Alex Mose. Go Irish. For the Minnesota Vikings, he selects Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. Moving to 25, Houston Texans, Kenny's Texans, and Zach Hernandez, who made the pick, his Texans. Zach picks Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State for the Texans. Moving to pick 26, we finally run out of users. Jacob's back on the clock. He selects Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas for the Los Angeles Rams. Jacob's on the clock for back-to-back picks here. He selects for the Baltimore Ravens James Pierce Jr., a edge rusher from Tennessee in what would be the most Ravens pick in the world. Moving on to 28, the Detroit Lions. Joseph Bodette, another friend of the show, the only Lions fan I've ever met in my life. Joseph selects Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College, edge rusher. Moving on to 29, Jacob back on the clock. He's only got 2 more picks left. Don't worry. The Washington Commanders select O'Marion Hampton, running back from North Carolina. Great pick there. He crossed my mind at 10. So to get him 19 picks later is something. And Jacob's final pick of this draft as the Buffalo Bills. He selects Derek Harmon, a defensive lineman from Oregon. That is Jacob's final pick. He makes it as the Buffalo Bills. On to pick 31. Friend of the show, Kara Brown, selects Kelvin Banks Jr., Kelvin Banks Jr., an offensive tackle from Texas. And rounding out the Unwritten Rule 2025 NFL mock draft is the Philadelphia Eagles, made by Nick Swanson, friend of the show, big Howie Roseman guy. He selects Nick Scorton. There's been a million pronunciations of his name between all of us. The edge rusher from A&M. Jacob, any of those stand out to you as wrap up our mock draft?
Yeah, any of the 12. I think if I'm going over my picks specifically, I think the favorite one that I made would have to be, I think it'd be Omarion Hampton for the Commanders. James Pierce gets an honorable mention for sure, but I think Hampton, like you said, he should be in consideration at 10. I don't know if I'd take him at 10, but he's definitely in the running for sure. I don't think he falls past 21. In my honest opinion, falling past the Steelers. I think he could go to the Bears at 10, the Cowboys at 12. Worst case scenario, we fall to the Broncos at 20 or the Steelers at 21. But the Commanders would definitely be happy with this. I think he's got the size and the speed, the tenacity to be a consistent 1,000-yard rusher at the next level. The Commanders, they're not bad at running back, but they don't have a star there. And I think Hampton would definitely give them that. Give them like an added little bonus for their offense, for Cliff Kingsbury to work with. The rest of those picks, I'd say my favorite pick would be one of two. So Colston Loveland, I think Luke did a great job there picking him for the Chargers. I mean, yeah, obviously there's the Michigan tie-in, but the Chargers have needed a long-term answer at tight end for some time. I don't think there's a big gap between Warren and Loveland. Like I've said, Warren's my tight end 1. I think he's going to be better right away. I think Loveland has a higher ceiling. So whether or not he reaches it, I don't know. I think Warren's definitely a better blocker. He's more physical. He's better in contested coverage, but Loveland, I think, is a better athlete, a better route runner. So that'd be a great pick for the Chargers. I also do really like Kelvin Banks going all the way to 31 of the Chiefs, because I know, they signed, Jalen Moore to a pretty big deal, but that's a guy who's been a backup in the NFL his entire career, and relying on him, relying on Jawan Taylor, who's been, hasn't lived up to expectations, for those guys to be your tackles, I don't know. I see a guy with Banks. I think he could start at tackle or guard. Maybe he starts off at guard competing with Kingsley Suamataia.
The guy from BYU.
Yeah, it's better than we're gonna do, man.
I hope I got that right. I don't know. But anyway, I think he can compete for left guard there. He can compete at left tackle with Jalen Moore. He can compete at right tackle with Jawan Taylor. Really athletic. Well, I mean, pretty athletic, really strong. I think those are the things I'd use to describe Kelvin Banks. He's still raw. Which is why I don't think he's a top 10 pick, but I do think he should go higher than 31. So if that happens for the Chiefs, they should be doing backflips. I mean, that'd be a really good pick for them. Someone with a high ceiling at offensive tackle, which is clearly a big need for them. So that and Loveland are my two favorite picks that weren't made by me. I mean, all mine were amazing, obviously, but everyone else's, those are my two favorites, I think, out of those.
Sound analysis, Jacob. I sort of dug the James Pierce to the Ravens. I think, like Payton said, that's a very Ravens pick. Just getting an edge rusher had been a known name in the SEC. Obviously, kind of a destroyer down there. That's probably my best analysis. Where's Infante gone? Mr. Commissioner, well done. Great announcing the picks.
No problem. I banished Jacob Infante into the shadow realm.
Well done. Yeah.
So you guys are, oh God.
All right. So let me explain what that was. My laptop is a piece of garbage, and if it's ever like at any percentage that's less than 50%, if it's not plugged in, it just shuts off. So I don't know. So I missed the last half of that.
It wasn't
I know
important. Don't worry about it.
we got through the picks anyway, but
Yeah.
this
I don't know,
laptop,
Infante.
I
I
mean,
think you need to find better equipment, or we might need to find a new draft expert. That's what I'm hearing.
yeah,
Someone who can
sorry
be
to
in it
let
for the
you guys
long
down.
haul.
Yeah, I'm
You're lucky
I'm
someone
we
else
do-
booked this week, Jacob.
yeah, I'm starting to think I'm not well suited for this. So
He ain't
you
built
know,
for this.
I'm I'm not ready. But anyway,
No, you're
thank
you're very
thanks
much
for,
ready.
of course. Thank you for putting the spotlight on just me there for a second. That's really
Yeah, you don't have
hammering
enough of
home.
it.
Yeah.
Infante, thank you for coming on. That's our mock draft. Thank you to everyone who submitted. We'll tweet it out, tag all the wonderful people, and do all of that stuff. And tune into the draft. Should be a fun one too. No, not tweet the photo.
I know.
The draft.
Tweet the picks. I'm not in charge of that. Nose goes.
I got it.
Yeah, we've got a producer.
I'm
Calm
not.
down.
The cool thing is, like, it gave us. Here, I'll show you guys. It gave us like a full picture. I already have it
We're a
up on the screen.
we're a well-oiled
okay.
machine. Yeah, we're a well-oiled machine.
Shout out PFF for that.
Shout out to PFF
Shout out Max
Max.
Chadwick.
Shout out Max Chadwick.
Yeah.
We need to have him. We need to have him back on. Maybe soon, post draft. We'll see. That's probably Infante's biggest challenger, actually, for resident draft expert, if there is one. It's probably Max. We might need Max versus Infante, some sort of draft trivia. All right, I'm droning on. Thank you, Infante. There's the mock draft. Enjoy the draft. We'll obviously have stuff on next week about it on Friday, when hopefully we get Luther and Membou off the board, but we'll see. We'll recap it regardless, talk about where those guys fall. So more draft coverage to come. For now, we'll kick it to the rest of the show, finish it out with quick hits.
Okay, quick hits time. We'll finish out the show. Kenny is obviously not present for quick hits, which means he can laugh at us from the void as me and Payton struggle through the Daily Dozen Trivia presented by Barstool Sports. Payton, shall we get this show on the road? How many are we getting?
I'm going to say we get 3. I'm feeling terrible. I don't think we're going to get any.
I actually also feel bad. There might be an illness going around the unwritten rule today. I don't know, but yeah. I'll say 3 too. Let's get.
I actually feel fine. Like I'm not sick anymore, but we're
only. Oh, you just have a bad feeling about the yeah.
Yeah, no.
Well,
that's what I mean. So,
do
you have anywhere in particular you want to start, or should we just go NFL?
NFL. Let's just go in our order.
All right. During the 2024 season, this was last year, Jack.
Okay.
What NFC South QB threw for over 500 yards in a game? Oh my goodness, burping. So there's Kirk Cousins.
Derek Carr.
The Saints were a mess. Derek Carr and had Rattler, who didn't do it, and Hayner, who didn't do it.
Surely it wasn't Bryce Young.
Yeah, I don't think it was Bryce.
I don't think
Bryce Young had a nice end of the year, but I don't think he threw 500 yards.
Baker feels like.
I'm between Baker and Kirk because it wasn't Penix, but I feel like Kirk had like a crazy game. Like I was between that or something.
I was between Baker and Carr. I kind of feel like Carr would randomly do that.
He would. So I'm actually between those 3. I don't remember which one it would have done it.
Baker feels like the safest.
Baker does feel like the safest, which is why I don't think it's him.
Should we go Carr?
I think it's Derek.
My first inclining was Derek Carr. I don't know why.
We're gonna guess Derek Carr, and then on the double dip, when we inevitably get this wrong, we're gonna guess Kirk Cousins. It was not Derek Carr. Yep,
okay.
Knew it. Should have just gone Kirk Cousins. God, NBA. As of today, which Eastern Conference team has lost 15 consecutive playoff games? Is this Detroit?
It could be Detroit. It could be the Magic, potentially.
No, the Magic had one over Toronto.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they stole a couple games. That's right. Detroit.
I think it's Detroit, to be honest.
Because it's not.
So the Bucks. Bucks suck.
The Bucs don't suck. They have lost a lot of playoff games in a row, but not 15 because they didn't get swept by the Pacers. So they last year.
I think it's Detroit.
I think it is Detroit because if you go through it, it's not Cleveland, it's not Boston, it's not New York, it's not Indiana, it's not Milwaukee.
It's Detroit. We got it.
Yeah. All right.
NHL. Oh, geez. In 2011, Daniel Briere, Kimmo Timonen, and Sergei Bobrovsky, I know that name actually, were on this Eastern Conference team the last time they won their division. So Bobrovsky now is a Florida Panther. He was not a Florida Panther back then. I think it's Columbus, to be honest with you.
Go for it.
That's the best guess I'd have. He's played for anyone else. It wasn't.
Oh.
So Bobrovsky was somewhere before Columbus. I didn't know that. Books. One Woman Search for Everything. Yeah. Do you have any idea?
I'll read it. One Woman Search for Everything across Italy, India, and Indonesia is part of the full title of this 2006 Elizabeth Gilbert memoir that got adapted into a 2010 Julia Roberts film. No, absolutely no idea.
Rocky.
The Notebook. That's not right. Rocky. Can't even type it.
Celebrity matchup.
Oh, geez.
That's okay. So that's Harry Styles. That's Harry Styles. We'll get through this one quick because people that are just listening can't see it. Who is that face? Do you know the face?
I don't know. I don't.
This is embarrassing. This is a face Kenny absolutely knows, and it's one we should know.
Yeah, I don't.
Sam Elliott.
Bryan Cranston. Sam Elliott.
Is that Bryan Cranston?
No, he's never had that.
That's a better guess than Sam Elliott.
Okay. I don't think it's Bryan Cranston.
I don't either, but no.
Oh, a lot of red on this board.
Available for more than a decade. What does Special K call its chocolate variant?
Oh,
you know?
I don't eat Special K, but I have seen that before. I don't know. Chocolate. Just take a guess. Count Chocula.
It's definitely not that. Wheat's chocolate.
No.
Chocolatey Delight sounds
Chocolatey Delight feels or Chocolatey Crunch maybe.
We got it. Chocolatey Delight.
Chocolatey Delight. A guess. All right. From 2007 to 2009, this MTV reality show followed the life of a professional skater and the Sheckler family.
I have no interest in skating at all, but I actually know of this show.
Oh.
I don't know the name of it, though. I know the show, though. Like, I know that this is about Ryan Sheckler and his family. Because he was like, I don't know. He was like the big rival.
It's like a skater term, like
Life of
Ryan. Ryan.
It's the Life of Ryan. We got 3.
We had our criteria. The Life of Ryan. That's so lame.
Redman and Method Man played 2 cannabis users who are visited by the ghost of their friend after they smoke his ashes in this 2001 stoner comedy. Do you know this one?
I don't know. No.
Kenny would absolutely know this.
Kenny would know this
is
one.
a movie he'd absolutely
for sure seen this movie.
No.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I wish it was Pineapple Express, but it's not that. Star Wars. You got types out, man. It's good podcasting.
The next 3 days. Music. We're going to go to music. This country music duo had hits in the 2000s and 2010s with Stuck Like Glue, Baby Girl, It Happens, and All I Want to Do. No idea. Do you know?
Country music duo.
Kenny would know.
Kenny would know. Kenny would know. Country music duo? I don't know.
Wait, Florida Georgia.
What was a popular country music duo?
All right, we got 6 questions wrong.
Do Kirk for the double dip real quick.
I'm doing the double dip on NFL. It wasn't Derek Carr. I think it's Kirk. I really do think it's Kirk.
It's Baker. I'm going to be upset.
It's Kirk. It was Kirk. So he did have that crazy game. I did remember that.
No one knew the movie.
Yeah, hold on. NHL, the answer was the Flyers. I did not know Bobrovsky was a Flyer.
Book?
The movie was Eat, Love, Pray, or Eat, Pray, Love. celebrity matchup was Paul Giamatti and Pedro Pascal. So we
Was
got
it Harry Styles?
I was certain that was
Yeah,
Harry
you were
Styles.
very confident. It was Pedro Pascal. Not even
The
close.
movie was How High, haha, and music was Sugarland.
Sugarland.
Great, that was terrible. Moving on.
All
Quick
right.
hits time.
The rest of Quick Hits time. Tigers in the Wild. Kenny, what's your Tiger in the Wild?
Hey guys, I'm Kenny Van Doren. I got all nine of the answers on Daily Dozen Trivia correct. And my Tiger in the Wild is going to be Julia Ford. Julia Ford is the new assistant coach for Grand Canyon women's basketball. She was recently at Missouri. She was hired in May of 2023 as special assistant to the head coach. So there's Julia Ford. Moving on to the Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon. It's just more of that staff turnover for Mizzou women's basketball, and gonna happen. Understandable. And all right, Payton, your quick hit, sir. Your quick
My
hit.
Tiger in the Wild. You can't really see it because it's a GIF form, but he'll show up in a second. My Tiger in the Wild is going to be Johnny Walker Jr. He got the 99 overall card in Ultimate Team. I have fallen off the wagon of Ultimate Team. I haven't played it since the SEC tournament. I never picked it back up. But Missouri, another 99 overall. They also released a new Luther card. I think 2 new Luther cards in the What If series and the Draft series. So it almost makes me want to go back, but I'm so far behind. I don't have I'm not going to do it. But good for Johnny Walker. He has a 99 overall card.
The decider of cards is a Mizzou fan. We are convinced of it. It continues to.
We have gotten a rush of Mizzou content this year.
Yeah, so. which is fun. My Tiger in the Wild, I actually have 2. I will start with a former Missouri Tiger. It's Matty Mock. He's a coach now. He was named the coach of Principia High School in Town and Country, Missouri. So, former Mizzou quarterback, now a head coach. Always pretty fun. I do love to see when former players make the move to head coach and see how they do. Obviously, we're seeing that trend more now in the college game. Shout out to Callum McAndrew over at the Tribune for this article. He said, "I'm incredibly honored to join the Principia community. This is a special place with a strong foundation. I'm excited to help these young men grow athletically and academically." So very cool for Matty Mock. He's an Ohio guy, but of course started or filled in for James Franklin on a roast to prominence in that mid 2010s sort of era there of Mizzou quarterbacking. Payton, I'm sure you've got some good Mock memories from that era. But yeah, congrats to him for the gig. That'll be cool. We'll have to follow how Principia does with him at the helm.
Yeah, it's nice to see. I mean, Matty Mock landing on his feet. It was very highly publicized exit at Missouri. Did not end how anyone wanted it to, but it's good that he's kind of figured it out. And that's cool gig, getting to be a high school head coach in the St. Louis area. So
best of luck to Matty Mock. My other one is Luke Bauer, my Tiger in the Wild. He is a Michigan man transferring to the Wolverines. Obviously was punted at Mizzou last season. Payton, are you excited for the punter battle in 2025 for Mizzou? And congrats to Luke Bauer. Good, looking forward to watching him in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm really not sure it's really a battle. I think it's probably going to be Wesselman.
I know.
But
just want to make you talk about it.
Interesting. Just the whole Bauer thing. I really doubt he's going to Michigan to be the starter, to be honest. Michigan's a very good school, obviously. So getting to be a grad transfer there, I'm sure isn't the worst thing in the world. But good for Luke Bauer. Everyone's going to have the memory of the fake punt, obviously. Iconic
all-time Mizzou moment during that great season. Headlines. Kenny, what's your headline of the week?
Kenny's headline comes from KPVI. Never heard of that. Noah Reese. But KPVI, Horn scheduled to start for Mizzou baseball against Missouri State. There it is. Sam Horn. He was healthy for the for the QB battle during the spring. And now for the first time in 2 years, he's going to get to pitch. He did pitch for Mizzou baseball in the past. He pitched for them like against TCU, like in a televised game. He's got electric stuff, no doubt about it. But now he'll get to return to the mound against Missouri State. Look, Mizzou baseball has been a total mess this year. They are devastated by injuries in the pitching staff. So they'll take all the arms they can get back. And obviously, cool for Horn. Obviously, he gets to pitch again, and he'll then get to compete for the starting quarterback job in the fall.
Yeah. It's, I'm just hoping he can stay healthy and at least, sustain doing one. I mean, he has just been absolutely ravaged by injuries. What are you laughing at?
I just this KPVI. I mean, like, there's a Future of Eastern Idaho tab up here. Like, what is this site?
Oh yeah, news that works for you.
I think this is a station in Idaho that got kind of like because he probably wanted to take it from like the news station in St. Louis, but he like picked the affiliate. I'd assume the way it works is like
Kenny's been aggregated by Idaho.
Yeah, like the affiliate stations kind of share the stories around. Like,
what's their
like
local
an ABC
headline?
Affiliate in Iowa, for example, would have the ABC story in St. Louis.
No, it makes sense, but it is funny that he didn't notice that. What's their lead local sports headline down there? Scroll down.
Looks like Titans sweep Rams and KC's Friday night softball and baseball coverage.
Those Rams just can't get it going.
Broncos sweep Russets, Bees and Grizzlies split. This looks like it's in Pocatello, Idaho.
All right.
Which I think that's where Idaho State is.
If you know that. That's why. Hey, shout out Ed Chang.
Yep. Moving on.
Your headline.
My headline is coming from Kyle McCreevy from Mizzou Today. He's Kenny's coworker. FAU women's guard Sydney Maines commits to Mizzou. Another commit for Kelly Harper in the fold. She played at FAU under assistant coach Jennifer Sullivan, so someone that Sullivan is clearly very high on. I believe she played in just 3 games last year, grabbed 4 rebounds in 10 minutes against Florida. That's kind of nuts. So intriguing pickup there. That's 4 commits for Mizzou now as they completely try to remake the roster. Kelly Harper, I believe, tweeted the bat signal for this morning. The morning we're recording this, which is Sunday. So just plenty more to come, I'm sure, on this front, but nice to see the commits start to roll in for Mizzou.
Yeah, using those coaching connections. Yeah, we'll have to do a whole like kind of women's basketball, like a little roster eval when everything kind of gets finalized. Obviously, in very much off-season mode right now. But yeah, excited. She's doing a good job as a recruiter so far. That's what she was billed to be. Looking forward to seeing the squad she assembles and what we needed the era change so bad. Like I'm excited to actually go into next year and be just excited to watch some games and like Rufus of just knowing last year was just sort of a dead in the water season, and so it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to Kelly Harper, year one. My headline of the week, going over to ESPN. Gonna force some NBA talk on you. Payton, this comes from Dave McMenamin over at ESPN. The headline reads, Luka Doncic, criticism out of Dallas painful, but quote, didn't want to talk back. Basically it was just like a little article about his relationship with Nico Harrison, how he I think he said he threw his phone across the room when he got the news that he was traded, and basically, his kind of take on that and Nico Harrison and being in the trade. It was a good look back. I also wanted to use it as an excuse. Payton, the Mavs almost made the playoffs. They of course didn't. Doesn't help when you trade your best player. But give me a finals pick as well, if you have any thoughts on the Luka Nico Harrison situation.
I mean, there really is no trade just really in sports history like this that I can think of. I can think of like a few different like reasons for like other kind of athletes of this magnitude being traded. I can't think of one for Luka just kind of being a mid-20s superstar that had seemingly zero reservations about pitching his 10 in Dallas. It seemed like he was there for the long haul. And Dallas just willingly trading him, that's bizarre, and they kind of deserve to never win a playoff game again for it.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way I think of it. But my finals pick right now, I know it's kind of not sexy, but I'll just go OKC and Boston. OKC seems like as stacked a team as we've really seen in our lives. It's not just Shea, it's just that entire team is well put together. And they beat Memphis by like 50 today. So that's quite the way to start the playoffs. Boston, I don't know. The East doesn't really move me at all. So I'll take Boston because they've been there before.
I'm also going OKC and Boston. I'm picking OKC over Boston, though. I'm winning in 7. Finals MVP, Jalen Williams. Hot take. Not going Shea. I did find the note in the article. I know. I'm riding with it, though. I did want to shout out this. Yeah, he said, during the interview, Johnson showed Malik Andrews his cell phone, which is still damaged from him throwing it across the room when he first heard the trade. I was actually in bed. My TV wasn't working, so I was on my iPad watching a movie, about to go to sleep. First thing I said probably 3 times was, "Is this an April 1st joke?"
Yeah, I remember I was on Xbox with people, and we all thought he was hacked. Shams was hacked.
Shams, yeah. Shout out. Looking forward to the NBA playoffs. That's the show. Payton, you got a joke for us to wrap up?
I sure do, Knowlton. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Knowlton, what's the best way to make a band stand?
Make a band stand?
Make a band stand.
I don't know. What is the best way?
You take away their chairs.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and close us out.
That was a mess. All right. Thanks for watching, listening. Give us a sub. We enjoyed thank you to everyone who contributed on the mock draft again as well. We love doing that every year. So we'll have more football news, I'm sure, in the portal as that winds down and Mizzou continues to be active. Hoops offseason stuff as well, and plenty more to come. So enjoy. We're getting closer and closer as well to Mount Rushmore season, which is always fun during the summer. So stay locked in. Give us a sub if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. We'll see you next time. All right, bye.